come to you bittersweetly. Like it is obviously it's not a great day in Niner Nation, but you've got me, you've got this shoulder to lean on, and we're gonna go over some things real quick. But first, why don't we just start off hitting my music? Hey, Niner fam, like it is Peter Lucas. This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast. And once again, just let's get it started with make sure you give this one a like. Make sure that you give us a subscription and hit the bell notification so that you're getting notified when I'm going live. But obviously, it's not a happy day, right? Like not a happy day at all. And the 49ers lose to the Eagles. I'm not even going to say the score because honestly, it's irrelevant. The reality is I could get on here and I could start off by talking about how frustrated I was with the officiating. I could talk on here what I could talk about a lot of things. Like we could say a lot of things right now about that game. The At the end of the day, this game was over in the first quarter. I mean, that's the reality. It was over as soon as Brock went down. That was a wrap. So none of the other stuff we could talk about the penalties. We could talk about a ton of things. We could talk about play calling. We could talk about Josh Johnson. We could talk about all kind. The reality is we didn't have a chance once Brock went down. We're in the NFC Championship game. Think about this for a minute. You're in the NFC Championship, which means there's only 4 teams that are going to make it a season out of 32. Which means the room for error is like razor thin. And I said on the preview that it was going to be all about execution, and it was going to be all about who was going to blink first, who was going to have the most penalties. It's I mean, it is what it is. Once Brock went down, he was our third string. That means that we were on our fourth string quarterback. So if anybody was expecting the Shanahan offense just to keep going without that doesn't normally happen. I know that the national media and everybody was trying to make a big deal out. Oh, you can stick anybody in the Shanahan system, and they're going to no. That's not the way that it works. They got very lucky. Maybe Brock Purdy's just good. Jimmy Garoppolo is obviously serviceable. I mean, maybe the Brock Purdy was just good for Kyle's system. And we talked about system quarterbacks in the last episode and what it takes for a quarterback to get chemistry with their coach. Josh Johnson came off the street. I mean, yes, he's been on the team before, but he has no reps with anybody. So to think that he's going to come in and be a world beater, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I say all that to say, let's not get down. Let's not get down. We made it to the Final Four with our third string quarterback. It shouldn't have even, we were lucky. I don't want to say that we were lucky to be here because obviously that would not give credit to this defense. That would not give credit to, and I want to say what's up to the people in the chat real quick. Alfonso, appreciate you coming in. Thank you for the subscribe, brother. I saw that. Thank you for coming through. Edgar, Niner Bros and for channel fans and players. Yeah, It's like I said, it's a bittersweet day, right? Like I hate to once this game got started and Brock got hurt, that was I didn't want to say it was over for me, but I was still they were hanging in there for a minute, and I still had a little bit of hope, but then they it quickly we quickly realized why the that like how important Brock was to this team and how important the quarterback position is to this team. And Alfonso asked the question, why do you think the Niners played so badly? It's because they were on their fourth string quarterback. The defense actually played really well, but you can't be on the field the whole game. There is no defense in this league that can be on the field the whole game and just hold teams. That's just not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And we saw why, because the more opportunities you give, the defense gives the refs to make calls, they will. Because the league, the NFL, let's just be real. The NFL doesn't want to see a defensive game. They don't want to see it. They want to see points. They want to see points. And when they don't get to see point, they're going to penalize teams that lean on defense. When was the last time we had a team leaning on defense win the Super Bowl? You haven't seen that in forever. Because I mean, even the teams that it was a low scoring game, that wasn't the way the league drew it up. Like that wasn't the way they drew it up. Like just because there was a couple of low scoring Super Bowls, believe me, the league did not want that to happen that way. Kudos to those those defenses weren't even that great. Like statistically, they weren't on the level of the 49er defense. But I say all that to say, when we lost our quarterback, that was a wrap. So now I could get on here and say how bad the refs were, because the refs were terrible throughout this game. They were terrible. There's no other word for it. They were terrible. Like it was just unsettling how bad they were. And in this big of a game, supposedly an all-star group was that terrible. Yeah, they had no control over the game. Like no control over it. And it was almost like they were letting the 49ers, they were letting both teams like just blow up and like getting skirmishes and like all the other stuff. Normally, officials will get that kind of stuff knocked out like right quick, and they get involved right. These guys were letting them go, and then when they boiled over, now you want to throw flags. It was just a terrible job all the way around by the referees. It was, and I'm willing to bet we're gonna hear how bad it actually was tomorrow. I mean, but when multiple national guys get on Twitter talking about blatant false starts that are happening like every other snap for the other team, and nothing's being called, another guy is getting held, but you call him for hand to the face. Like, I mean, it was just bad all the way around. It was bad all the way around. And I could keep going and keep going and keep going about the calls. But the reality is, it doesn't matter. Kudos to the Eagles for taking advantage of a bad situation that the 49ers have. Like, hey, they made it. And I got emotional on Twitter a little bit ago and just said, because I honestly, I don't think that the Eagles are that good. That's my personal opinion on him. I didn't see anything in this game. People are going to say, "Oh, well, you lost 31-7, whatever the score ended up, 38-7, whatever it was." Like, but people would see that and say, "Well, how could you say they're not that good?" They weren't that good. We didn't have a quarterback. We had a guy off the street at quarterback. There was no offense. There's little to no offense because we didn't have a guy that could throw the ball. Like, just throw the ball. And then he got hurt. And then we had no quarterback because Brock can't throw the ball. So they're having to come up with all these crazy run plays. And like, I mean, what did anyone expect? And then for the the pundits to get on, like, the guys on TV to sit there and act like the 49ers got bullied and they got pushed around, that they got out physicaled. That's just not accurate. It's just not accurate. And it could sound like bitter grapes. Like, sometimes you just got to take it, but when it's this is the reason why I no longer watch ESPN. This is the reason why I very rarely watch any national people, just because of the nonsense narratives that they're trying to make. Now they've got to make the Eagles world beaters because they're in the Super Bowl, and they have to be great because they're in the Super Bowl. Like, they're not a bad team by any stretch. The Eagles are very, I would say they're a really good team. But I think that the 49ers, if all things being equal, I think that the 49ers would have at least would have given them a much better game had Brock not got hurt. And the defense did an outstanding job. Like, they get, yes, and people are going to wait, they got 31 points and they were led down the field by penalties. Yeah, there were some stupid penalties there was a lot of stupid penalties by Greenlaw. However, they shouldn't have even been in those. A lot of that stuff was frustration just because I mean, you saw Kyle on the sideline, like, they're just the play where they gave them the roughing the kicker after Jordan Mason got pushed into the kicker. And I mean, it was a kind of a bang bang play, but to call roughing the kicker on that, I thought that was nonsense. Like, and then you give him another chance, and that just keeps leading him down the field. And it was what it was. But I don't think the 49ers got dominated physically. I'm just going to say this. I think that all things being equal, I think the 49ers could have beat that team had they had a viable quarterback. And yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, and I see some guys in the chat, like, but to answer the question about why the 49ers played so badly, I mean, they just didn't have a quarterback. Like, I mean, it's a simple answer. They didn't have a quarterback. And you tell me one team that has ever been in the NFC Championship game without a quarterback. Just tell me one. I mean, literally no quarterback that can't throw the ball, that cannot physically throw the ball, and they've got to come up with random run plays, like, to try and get some kind of offense. It's never going to happen. So, but yeah, and Alfonso saw the same thing I did. Not all of those penalties on the Niners look like penalties. They weren't. They weren't, but it is what it is. It's kind of a moot point because there was no way the 49ers were going to get any offense going. They had no quarterback. They didn't have a person that could just throw the ball. And when I say, it's one thing to say that you don't have a viable quarterback that's just not good. It's another thing to say that he literally cannot throw the ball. And you're forced to, like I said, do random run plays just to get any kind of offense. Who comes out of the AFC? I think, I mean, I haven't even looked at the game yet. I'm going to watch it after this. But, I mean, I'm pulling for the Bengals in this one. KC beat us earlier this year, so I got a thing against them. But yeah, so I'm going to go. It doesn't really matter, honestly, to me. All I care about is that somebody beats the Eagles. That's where I'm at with it, because somebody needs to bring those guys down. I want to see them go up against a team when they're not going to get all the calls, and that team has a viable quarterback. So I'd like to see that, because all these teams are good at this point. Like, and this is a good point too. And I'm not even going to get into stats, because this game really didn't even, for what? Why are we going to even look at the stats? But I did notice throughout the game that, I mean, the Niners, even with no quarterback, that's why I say the defense did a great job, was even with no quarterback, like, they were still holding the Eagles to, like, I mean, trash offensive possessions. And yeah, but Jalen Hurts only threw for 120 yards. He didn't impress me today. He did not impress me. Now, congratulations, Eagle fans, because you got to the Super Bowl. I mean, you did something right to get here. But this was almost like a mulligan for you guys. Once you got Purdy hurt, it was a wrap. And like and good, but kudos to you guys for getting to that point and winning the game. Like, I mean, it is what it is. Like, you can't act like a negative. Like, you can't sit there and act like, oh well, they don't deserve to be in the Super Bowl. They absolutely do. They played. They played in the NFC title game. It was unfortunate for the 49ers that they had the injuries that they did, and that's where we're at. Like, but with that being said, oh, they're saying Bengals might be down 10-0 in a minute. Hey, what's going on, Nate? Appreciate you coming through. And they said that PI call on Ward was also a back. I mean, it might have been, but realistically speaking, there were so many bad calls in this game that are we really going to cherry pick like 1 and 2? There were just so many. There's so many bad ones, and like to the point to where I can't even remember all of them. And it was bad. Um, Now, and this is the one I knew this was coming eventually. What do you think the QB situation will be next year? Do you think Lance will start? I think that it's going to be a QB competition. Just like I said, even if they won the Super Bowl, I thought that it was going to be a QB competition. People still seem to think that Brock Purdy's just got the job outright. But I look at it like this. Purdy is not a big man. And I had said multiple times on my previous shows that because he's so little, I get afraid that he can't make it through a season. Like if he had to play the whole season, remember, people forget that he only played like 7 or I think this was his 8th game. Like it's not that simple. It's not that simple. And I think that they're going to give Lance every opportunity to come through and prove that he can be the guy because they invested what they invested in him. So I think Lance is going to get a chance. I think that they're probably going to go at it in training camp. And if Purdy's the guy, I think that they'll keep Lance as a backup. I don't think they're going to trade him because of the reason that I just gave you is that he's a small guy. He's really slight of build and it is what it is. Like, I mean, you saw it. We were on our 3rd string quarterback, guys. Like, which meant that actually we're on our 4th string. Like, 3 of our guys got hurt. So the more quarterbacks you got, the better. And if you have an opportunity to have Trey Lance on a rookie deal, and for whatever reason he's your second best, I'm keeping him. I'm not trading him for sure. I'm not trading him. You got 2 more years. Like, well, no, you got 3 more years of his rookie deal. Like, if you choose to take his fifth year, like, so why? Unless you're just don't want the competition for Brock Purdy, you think you can get something for Trey Lance. But the reality is he's coming off of an injury. He hasn't shown anything in the league so far, but besides potential, and you're not going to get back what you gave up. So I don't think it makes much sense to me to trade. They might still trade him, and if they could get a haul for him, then I get it. But I don't know. I think that they hold on to both guys, and they hammer it out in OTAs and camp. So, but we'll see. We shall see. And Alfonso says, how do you feel about D'Amico Ryans possibly leaving for Houston? I mean, we all knew that was coming. We all knew that. I mean, I don't even know that he's gone to Houston. I don't know if they've announced it or not. Everybody's assuming that he goes to Houston, but regardless, we knew he was gone after this season. And I don't know what the exit plan is for the 49ers, because honestly, I thought that that they were going to get the guy that the Dolphins signed today, Fangio. He was the one that was in the building in the offseason. It was almost like they were getting him ready to be the guy next season. But Miami apparently threw a whole bunch of money at him, which makes me think that the 49ers probably that was the plan. It probably was the plan for him to come in after D'Amico, but and that Miami just outbid him. So it'll really be interesting to see who they bring in for to replace D'Amico, because D'Amico's gone. Everybody knows that. So it doesn't matter where he goes. Hey, he's gone. And so Damien, Damien in the house, what's going on, brother? I appreciate you coming through on this somber of a Sunday. What's that? He says, "What's up, Niner faithful and still faithful," and that's important. Still faithful. Like we are 49er fans till the wheels fall off, and the wheels haven't fallen off. We got to the Final Four with our third string quarterback. I mean, take some solace in that. It was a good season for the 49ers. And I know people will say, "Oh, we don't want to hear about just being relevant and like all that kind of stuff." The people are already blaming Kyle. I mean, I see it and it's just honestly, it's just sickening. It's really sickening to my stomach. Like, who do you want to bring in? Nobody ever has an answer of who do they want to bring in. They just say that they want Kyle gone. They blame Kyle for this, that, or whatever, and then they just want him gone. I don't want Kyle gone. Kyle is a very good coach. I think that they don't need to call him a genius yet until he gets his Super Bowl. I think it's going to come. I love the culture that they've brought here, him and Lynch. I think that the sky is definitely. I mean, there's nowhere to go but up with this team. This team is terribly deep. Their core is signed for years to come. There is no reason to think that the 49ers are going to be anywhere but in the same position in the playoffs for the foreseeable future, in my mind. Like, I think that they have a very good, solid team put in place, and it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. I know everybody is like, well, how could you like? Aren't you sad about it? Of course, we lost, but I mean, it's football. It's football, and you're not always gonna win. And when you don't win, you got to take it on the chin. You got to get up and you got to regroup and you got to take it and you got to go and you got to come back next year stronger. And the one thing about this coaching staff and Lynch is that every year they've learned from their mistakes. They've come back a little bit better, a little bit different. They've done things a little bit differently than they did the year before, and it's always served them better. They've gotten better and better and better. That's what I expect this year. I think Kyle has learned a lot throughout this process. I think he's learned a lot throughout this 5-year process, and he's like this close. He's this close. Like we just got to get him there. You know what I'm saying? Like uh and Kaimi says or yeah, Kaimi says they'll hold on to both QBs. I think so. I think so. I think that goes without saying. I just don't think say why would you not? My boy Nate says it's 6-0 Chiefs. Like to be honest, it doesn't matter to me who wins this game. Like because I don't have a dog in this fight. Like I'm a Niner fan, and I just want somebody to beat up Philly because and prove that they're not as good as the national pundits tried to make them out to be. Because I wasn't impressed. So yes, they beat us. Kudos to them, but I was not impressed. Alphonse, Niners didn't really throw the ball. Yeah, no, they did not, because they didn't have a quarterback that could literally physically throw the ball. So yes, no, they did not. And Eric, oh, my boy Eric Wallace is in the building. Hey, what's up, Eric? Appreciate you. My favorite, the only Seattle fan that I like. Like, but he says, "Hey, everyone, good evening. Appreciate you coming through, man." And Alfonso says Niners haven't won a Super Bowl since before I was born. Hopefully, they win one in the next couple of years. Absolutely, but I will say this: this has been a belief of mine for a long time. Is that you can't? All you can ask for is for your team to consistently get to the playoffs. If it's ineptitude is the reason why you're not making it past that point, then that's one thing. and like you're ridiculously talented, and the only reason why you're not making it is ineptitude, that I could see it. But you've got to look at the ways that the 49ers have not made it to they've made 3 of the last 4 NFC Championship games. Um, one of them they got to the Super Bowl. Then and they lost to Kansas City. Once again, it was another learning process for Kyle. I thought that and then the next season, I mean, it was a ridiculous amount of injuries. But then last year, he gets to the NFC Championship game, but Jimmy just couldn't make a throw. That's really what it came down to. Was Jimmy could not make the throw that we needed when we needed it. So now we pivot off of Jimmy and we go to Trey. He gets hurt in the second game. Then you get Jimmy back, and he's playing the best ball that we've seen him play. But then he goes down. You think, oh, for sure the season's over now. And now we're down to Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, 7th round rookie quarterback. Season's got to be over, right? Nope. We go on a streak. We keep it going on a streak, and Purdy goes on and rails off 7 wins, 2 of them in the playoffs. Like, you can't write this stuff. If anything, Kyle has done more. Like, I mean, most coaches could not get away with what Kyle has accomplished. So that's why I look at Kyle and I say, no, he's not going anywhere. We just need to get him. Eventually, we will be in a position. Look, Super Bowls take luck. You've seen it. Injuries happen, not just for the 49ers. They're happening all over the league. If you looked at the Eagles injury report, they had a whole bunch of guys on their injury report too. They had some guys that early on were starters, but we don't think about it now because they've been out for so long. But that's the way the NFL works. Today's NFL, the guys are just hurt all the time. And unfortunately for the 49ers, they're key players. They're a quarterback. But a lot of quarterbacks are getting hurt nowadays. So it is what it is. But yeah, I've been blessed to watch to know what was going on for three of the 49ers Super Bowls. I'm old. I'm 45. And I've been watching the 49ers for over 35 years. But believe me, if I could tell you anything about what I've watched over the 35 years that I've been watching the 49ers, is that Kyle shouldn't be going anywhere. This is a good squad. This is a good coaching staff. What we don't need is to sit there and look at the situation and just make rash decisions because we're not happy with the end result. There's a lot of context that goes into that. And Kyle did a masterful job this year managing all of it. And so I give that man kudos. This coaching staff was awesome this season. It was awesome. It's just, that's why it's so hard to do this show today, is because this coaching staff, these players, it was just, they had such a great season. And for it to get derailed like it did, it's sad. It is sad because I think that this team had the potential to do it. And unfortunately, it was an unfortunate injury to Brock that derailed the whole thing. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, Alfonso said Niners have had opportunities in this last decade to win the Super Bowl, and they lost to the Ravens and the Chiefs. Yep, for sure. Kyle, I think that he's still learning. But I think that it's just like I said just a little bit earlier. The fact that you can see him make changes, the more he doesn't just make the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. They make a mistake and they pivot. Something happened. They don't. The special teams is the worst in the league. What do? They get a new special teams coordinator in, and they overturn the whole special teams to the point to where the 49ers had one of the best special teams this year. When they got hurt, when they kept getting hurt all the time in the beginning, they tried to make this team the deepest it possibly could be. Also, they got a new training staff twice. Like they are trying to figure it out. They're making changes. They're making decisions that are trying to make this team better. That's all you can ask for is that they're pivoting and that they're making changes. It's just got to all pan out. Super Bowls take a lot of luck. It's not as easy as it sounds. So, but yeah, I agree that it's been a while. And the they lost to the Ravens. I mean, Harbaugh makes a lot of I'm not the biggest Harbaugh guy like in the world. I'm a Michigan fan too, and there is really kind of a love-hate thing with Harbaugh for me. But I think that Shanny is a much better coach than Harbaugh is. I don't know about anybody else anybody else feels about it, and but frankly that's my opinion on it. I think that Shanny is he's much more flexible in his coaching style than Harbaugh is. Harbaugh thinks he's the guy and that he is the last and end all, and I can't. It's not a good situation. Now I don't know what Harbaugh would have been with Lynch because Balky was terrible as a GM. So it could have been different, but I still think that Shanahan was a better coach in my estimation. But to each their own. Who do I think the next DC is going to be? I'm going to have to look at this coaching staff and see and start looking to see who the most likely candidate is now that we've got plenty of time to do so. I'm not going anywhere. You guys are still going to get your shows every week, probably twice a week, at least 2 to 3 times a week. And yeah, it's so I'm going to be still digging up information, like keeping you guys updated on what the possibilities are in this coming off season, because now it's just time for mock draft season. And I love draft season. I wish the 49ers weren't in it so early, but I will be here to help you guys through that situation. So it's but I'm going to dig more into that. I'll probably have some answers for you on my next show on Tuesday. So, but yeah. And Kaimi says thumbs up. Appreciate you, Kaimi. Appreciate you guys coming in. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate the way that this game ended up. And you're going to hear a lot of things that are going to frustrate you guys over the next few days. And all I can say is I wouldn't even turn on ESPN, to be honest. I'm not going to, because they're just going to talk a bunch of nonsense that had nothing to do with this game or the reason why the 49ers lost the game. The reality is they lost their quarterback. They were down to their fourth string quarterback. And I hope that you guys can understand that had nothing to do with Kyle or anybody. It was just dumb luck. And it's football. That's the way it goes. And sometimes the chips don't fall the way you want them to. And but kudos to the Eagles for getting to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. But I would say, and we talked about Lance, and now we're going to be fully on. Like I said, we're going to be full on into. I'm going to start looking at draft tape, start getting these guys, start getting my mocks together. And I mean, it really, once the Senior Bowl is over, that's when it really starts to ramp up for draft season. So it's we'll still probably need. I'll probably need to wait till then to start doing mocks, but it's gonna be like I love this part of identifying talent and seeing even though the 49ers never pick anybody that I pick. I could show you guys one of these days, like who I've been picking for the last 3 years, because I've been doing BD Peacock does Shadow 49ers, who I used to. And so ever since I've been listening to him, I started doing that myself. So I have the last, I believe it's 3 years. I have the last 3 years worth of my picks at when the 49ers were in the draft. And I would say it's probably, I mean, I can't really argue with the 49ers picks at this point. Like, I mean, not that I think that I've picked some guys that actually would have helped the 49ers in the situation that they are right now. Because I think the biggest place that I'm looking at the 49ers is their secondary. We had no clue that last year that Hufanga was going to be what he was this year. I think that is huge that they found their one of their safeties of the future. But now they've got a hole on the other side because Tashawn Gibson is old, and I don't think they bring back Jimmy Ward. There's a lot of questions on this team from a makeup. The core is intact. The core will be intact, but there's a lot of the pieces around them that it's going to be really interesting to see how that works out. Like starting with Jimmy Ward, Juwan Jennings. Um, yeah, I'm interested to see Danny Gray. I'm interested to see what their plan is for some of these guys, and I think Poe could be a guy that could be in the mix next season. I think that they've really kind of been trying to push him. I think Drake Jackson's going to be a factor. I know that he's been inactive, but I mean, think about Aaron Banks was inactive all last season. And what did he look like this season? So give these guys an off season, a full off season. Nick Zakelj is another one to look at. That's another guy that could be bolstering this offensive line. We'll see. I'm really kind of I've got to go in and just dive in and just really look at the situation. But I think that there's going to be not a lot of turnover. I think it's going to be the same thing as it was last year. They're going to bring in some more rookies. I don't think there's going to be too much on the free agent market like that the 49ers are going to go after. I don't think they're going to go after any big names. They got theirs in CMC. So, but it is what it is. Mariah, appreciate you coming through, fam. It is what it is. Like, yeah, it's a bad, it leaves all of us a bad taste in our mouth, but I appreciate you coming through, fam. Like, yeah, most of the media didn't pick the Niners. It doesn't matter what the media thought. Honestly, I don't care what the media thinks because they're wrong a lot, a lot. Like, and it just goes to show you why we felt the need to go to YouTube to get people that are actually passionate about our teams, to hear people talk about our teams that are passionate and are passionate about going out and getting the information, the real information, not the fake narratives that the media pushes, that the ESPNs and the NFL networks push. It's all fake narratives to get you guys to click. Like it's a bunch of nonsense. Now a broken clock is right twice a day, so they're gonna be right sometimes, but it is what it is. Like, yeah, I don't care who they picked. I don't even pay attention to any of that kind of stuff because it's because they're wrong so often that it really doesn't matter. But and Alfonso says that Mosley will be back too. He might be. I think he's a free agent. I want to say he's a free agent. That the But because of his injury, he probably will be back for a cheaper deal. Unfortunately for him, because he's coming off of a major injury. That I mean, and who knows what he's going to look like coming off the injury. So I think all that plays a part. So yeah, it is what it is, guys. And I look at this as it's a somber day, 49er fans. But like I said, I'm gonna be here for you guys going forward at least 2 to 3 times a week. I'm gonna try to keep you up to date on all the 49er news. I will have another show that to where I get to kind of deep dive into what this team is looking at in the offseason. So I'll have a show on Tuesday about that so it'll be 6 p.m. Pacific time. So make sure you guys tune in for that. I really appreciate all you guys coming in today because I mean, it really gives me solace that we have fans, such passionate fans, that even though the 49ers lost, our fans still want to know, what do we do now? What do we do now? Like it's not over. It's not over. Like the 49, it's just on to next year. And now we got to get better. So but Kaimi says thank you, Kaimi. I really appreciate you coming through. And but yeah, to everybody, it was a great season. It was a really great season, and I hope you guys still watch the games. I love football in general, and I just hope that we all just enjoy the rest of these games. I'm about to go watch the rest of the KC and the Bengals to see who the Philly's going to be playing, and then I'm going to start digging into prospects and digging into these contract situations to get ready for my show on Tuesday. But like, but once again, appreciate you guys. Make sure that you tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend so we can be friends every week. Also, you can see this on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and anywhere where you can get your audio podcast. I had a great week last week with the audio podcast. I had 39 views or 39 listens on for my audio podcast. I really appreciate the growth on that. And I really appreciate you guys the humongous growth that I had the last couple of weeks on YouTube. We're now up to 233, or I think we might be 234 now. But hey, like I said, tell a friend, please tell a friend to tell a friend, so that I can give you guys the most content that I possibly can. I can dig up whatever I can dig up. I can bring up all these great guests that I bring on. Take a look at the scroll down and take a look at all these great guests that I'm finding for you guys. It is these guys, everybody that I bring in has great opinions, and I really do this just so everybody can get an alternative view of the Niners and what could be and what should be. So, like I said, just stay tuned, stick with me, and I will see you guys on Tuesday. But we're always going to end it with a go Niners.